the crooked anchor and the whisper beneath. It was the kind of overcast day where the sky looked undecided and the mood inside the crooked anchor felt just as unsure. The fire was still a cardboard cutout, the smell of something experimental wafted in from Clifford's kitchen, and David was standing very still behind the bar, eyes fixed on the floorboards. "I'm telling you," he whispered. "I can hear mumbling down there, something about crisps and beans." Brian looked up from the bar, unusually anxious. He was without his usual newspaper, today's delivery apparently intercepted by a militant cow with a grudge against printed media. Instead, he was carefully scribbling on a napkin with a pub pencil. "What are you doing?" David asked. Brian didn't look up. "Making my own headlines. So far I've got, local man builds telescope from kettle, sees nothing, declares himself prophet, feels accurate." Meanwhile, Pete sat in his usual corner seat, motionless, pint untouched, eyes fixed out the window. Today, however, the window was staring back. A fog had settled in such a way that 2 patches of clear glass formed little round eyes. David had seen it blink once. He was sure of it. He shivered. "No one else sees that?" No response. Not that he expected one. The mumbling came again, soft, like someone talking in their sleep with a mouth full of crisps. Maybe a bit of sour cream, or paprika dust. Beans, glorious. David blinked hard. "Right, I'm not going mad. There's someone underneath the pub." He grabbed a torch, a bread knife, and Clifford's dust-covered emergency trapdoor pry bar and headed behind the bar. With a dramatic grunt and a mildly excessive amount of force, David cracked open a warped floorboard and shone the light into the darkness below. "Oi!" came a voice. "Mind the light! You'll wake the onions." A head popped into view. A man, wild-haired, dust-covered, wearing what looked suspiciously like David's old tea towel as a scarf. He was holding a tin of beans and looked utterly at home. "Uncle Raymond?" David gasped. Raymond blinked. "David, you're early. I thought you were the man from the co-op. I asked him for mini cheddars 3 weeks ago." David gawked. "Raymond, what are you doing under the pub?" Raymond scratched his beard with a fork. "Living, obviously. After the incident at the village bake sale, you remember, the one with the treacle explosion, I needed to lie low, found the old wine cellar, converted it into a snug, very good acoustics for snack-based reflection." At that moment, Clifford burst from the kitchen, carrying a bowl of something lime green and worrying. "Behold, soup for people who dislike temperature." Then he spotted Raymond. "Who's this?" "My uncle," David said flatly. "Apparently he's been living under the pub and eating our food stock." "Only the surplus," Raymond said, defensive. "I keep careful logs." He pulled out a notebook titled Snack Surveillance, Vol. 2. "You were out of pickled onion crisps last week, but I restocked using my emergency cash." Brian looked up from his napkin. "Do you pay rent? Emotionally?" Pete glanced briefly toward the trapdoor, then back at the window. The foggy eyes had vanished. But now the smile had returned. David pinched the bridge of his nose. "Uncle Raymond, you can't just live under the pub. It's a health hazard. It's weird." Raymond shrugged. "I could move into the loft. I've always liked heights." "No? Then maybe just weekends?" "No." Brian sighed and wrote down a fresh headline on his napkin. "Man emerges from floor, declares himself bean royalty." Pete took a long, slow sip from his pint. David stared at the trapdoor. "I should call someone, the council, or the police, or a priest." Just then the fogged-up window blinked again. No one moved. Raymond sat cross-legged on the pub floor, opened a packet of crisps, and offered one to Brian. The cat from a few days ago returned, settled on Brian's lap, and purred like a radiator. "Well," Clifford said, setting down his fluorescent soup, "I say we serve him. Anyone living under a pub for 2 years has clearly developed the constitution to survive my cooking." David sighed deeply. "Fine, but he's not on payroll, and he can't keep the cheese." Raymond nodded solemnly. "Deal." Outside, the sky cleared slightly. Inside, the floor was open, the crisps were shared, and the window had stopped watching, for now. Another day of secrets, snacks, and subterranean relatives at the Crooked Anchor.